Yeah,
It
man.
started.
Yes.
Here we
So,
go.
so welcome to UBI, or maybe I should start over. Welcome to UBI, and it is me and Manny here. This is our first show, so we are basically going to be winging it and see how this goes. So
Oh
please bear
yeah.
with us. So we're going to tell you a little bit about the theme of this show. We're going to tell you about ourselves and everything else, and then we'll just launch into whatever we want to talk about. But anyway, so Manny, please. So tell us, what is this podcast about? And tell
What
us,
is the
actually, we should say, tell us about yourself.
who
Introduce
I
yourself.
am?
Yeah, who you are, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I am Manny Brown. I am a, I guess, a lawyer by training. Uh, I'm also, uh,
Good luck to your
well,
clients.
that's true. That's true. Um, yeah. Good luck to my clients for sure. But yeah, I'm a lawyer in, like, I guess, for my day job, and but I also recently came out as a stand-up comedian. I've been doing that for about a year
And
and
you
a
say
half.
came out. I thought I was going somewhere
You thought I
different.
was going somewhere else? No, that's the only coming out I've done.
All right.
This is going to be an interesting inaugural podcast. But I mean, no, I know that's a weird phrase, I guess, coming out. I don't know how to say it, but I was kind of hiding it for a long time. And so, but to a bunch of people, but so yeah, I'm a lawyer, I'm a comedian. Um, sometimes I'm a writer. I'll write stuff. I'll write stupid, silly articles online as well, like Onion like articles. But I'm also, I guess, now a podcaster. So that's cool, 2 minutes in, I'm a podcaster.
We'll see how long this career lasts.
Yeah, we will. We'll see how long any of these careers last for me.
Oh, oh my God.
Yeah, but I feel like everyone has a podcast. At least a lot of comedians have a podcast. So hopefully ours will be interesting. I think it will be. If anything, we'll have fun, but we hope the audience has fun as well. And but yeah, I just wanted to, I think this podcast will be fun. I think, Lai and I don't know if you want me to get into it too much right now, but we've known each other for almost 10 years, since August or maybe the summer of 2011. And so we have
probably met a year before that on TLS, but that's a different story.
Oh, that's right. We can get into TLS. We also have our own language, so we'll try to translate to what we're talking about to you guys. But we say TLS, we know exactly what that is. Toplawschools.com.
And in terms of translating, I mean, since I have an accent, Manny probably understands me. I would say 99, maybe 90. I mean, I feel like you're probably one of the few people that doesn't really. I don't ever remember you saying, "Huh? Excuse you." But anyway,
actually, I have a funny story about that.
Yeah,
so
good luck to the audience understanding my accent. You'll be all
they'll
right.
get it. They'll get it. They'd be all right. If anything, we'll have a Nigerian following. That's fine.
Yeah.
And no, but they should get it. Like, you just have an accent, but it's not like, it's not so thick like you don't understand what you're saying. It's just an accent. It's just, he's saying, I don't know, you're speaking English. It's not like it's not like some other accents I've heard where it's like you don't have a thick patois that you use or something. I mean, I'm sure you can, but you don't.
Don't let me start speaking. It's broken.
I know that I won't understand, but I will say. So I do want to say, though, when we first met, I don't know if I ever told you this story, but I remember you were talking and you kept saying operantly. Yeah, you kept saying, you were like, operantly, blah blah blah, And I was so insecure and nervous being a law student. I legitimately thought operantly was a word that I just didn't know what that meant. So I Googled it. I was like, oh my gosh, people here are so smart. What does operantly mean? And I spelled it OPERANTING. And then I was like, after like a week, I'm like, oh, this man is saying apparently. God damn. Oh shit. So that was hilarious. So yeah, like, you know, that there might be stuff like that. But yeah, that whole time I thought you were saying operantly. I was like, damn, I don't even know words. I don't belong here. Everybody's so smart. I've never even heard that word.
Well, you hadn't heard the word until until that
But
time.
now I know what it means. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. But I guess tell the people about you and who you are.
Yeah, so me, I'm like, as you know, typically I don't bother telling people my last name because first of all, it's just gonna sound like and nobody cares. So
just let them know if one time. Let them know one. It's actually not that hard to say once you know it.
It's not, but I just feel like I have two last names. Anyway, my name is Lai Ali Ajibode. It's phonetically what it is, what it looks like, but it is what it is. I don't think of myself. Okay, so maybe we should back up a little bit. So yeah, we've known each other for a long time, and we went to the same law school. We actually went to the same law and business school, and I will probably say I saw the light earlier, or I should say quicker than many has, in terms of just saying, you know what, to hell with law.
I still haven't seen the light. I'm still a lawyer.
Yeah. So for me, I'm just chilling. Like I do all sorts of things. Like I do investments and venture capital investments, and I just have all sorts of side projects that I do. So yeah. So what else about me? I've lived in quite a few places. Speak multiple languages. This podcast is going to be in English. So that is
how many languages do you speak? What are we up to now?
I think we are 4 or 5.
Okay.
So yeah, 4 or 5.
You got English, French, Spanish, Yoruba.
Yoruba, yeah. It's funny enough, my Spanish is actually way better. Like I can, my Spanish is just way better than my French. It's probably, I would say, it's not on par with English. But anyway, we're not going to get into that. If we, yeah. So that's enough about me. Which is nothing. I didn't say anything really.
Neither did I. We don't like talking about ourselves, which is weird because we have a podcast.
Yeah. And especially, when you have a podcast, you have to put yourself out there and, whatever. But that's all you got. I mean, whatever you find out about me as you continue to listen to this podcast, that is, it is what it is. So what is this podcast about? I mean, we kind of talked about what this is about. First of all, the name of the podcast is UBI, and I will let Manny tell us about how we came up with that name.
UBI. So UBI is a way of life.
That's so cliche. Like everybody say, oh, like I ate habanero peppers. Habanero peppers is a way of life. No, it's not. UBI is not a way of life.
It's a lifestyle, brand. It's a lifestyle catchphrase. But no, it's UBI. I guess. I mean, if you go back far enough, originates from the term "you will be all right." And it depends on who our listeners are. I don't know. I mean, I say our listeners like people are listening, but maybe one day, you never know. This thing's going to be on the internet. So, but the UBI. Should I tell them the story? Like the go back to.
Yeah, sure.
It was a classmate of ours. It was. I won't say the classmate's name, but if anybody who went to school with us ever listens to this, they'll know who this person is. But I I remember, so we were all stressing out our first year of law school, our first semester, ours, our first exams ever. And your first exams in law school are like the most important exams you take in law school. And we're stressing out, and we're all kind of in.
At least that's what we're told. That is the most important. But of course, now years out of law school, it's actually not important at all. It doesn't matter.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. But yeah, at the time, you need it for whatever, a job, or I don't know. I was dumb. You were older in law school, so you had more perspective. I was 22. I was way too young to go to law school. I should have waited and then not gone. But just but I was stupid, and I was young and impressionable, and but yeah, I bought into the hype. We were all buying into that. We're all freaking out.
Came with a head full of hair,
and then after the first semester, my hair was gone. That's actually true.
That is true.
That's not an exaggeration. I had no hair by the time I finished my first year of law school. I shaved it all off. We can get into why I'm bald, why I've been bald for so long, and I'm only 31 later. But yeah, we were in the office, our Black Law Students Association office, and a few friends of ours, and we're all just stressing out. It was like right before finals, and then an older student came up, and he was listening to all of our woes and all of our problems, and then he proceeded to give us a very negative outlook. Like one of the most negative speeches I've ever heard. And he was just like, yeah, I mean, it's just tough. I don't know what you're going to do, but it's tough out here. Like it wasn't inspiring in the least. Like whatever we didn't need to hear, he said. And we were just like, what?
What contract you taking? You're taking contracts, huh?
You think that's hard? Wait till wait till you take this class, and then wait till you got to find a job, and this shit only gets worse. I haven't slept in 3 days. It's like, why? So yeah, he said probably the most unhelpful things anyone could have said in that situation for us, looking up to him as an older student. But the silver lining at the end of his long his long monologue, his unhelpful monologue, he said, yeah, but you be aight. And then he just walked away.
He just walked out. Like, what guy?
What the? Okay, all right. But yeah, he was like, "You be aight," and we just all kind of stood there, and we were all kind of like, actually. And then I think I had an epiphany after that. I was like, you know what? We will be aight. You know what I mean? Like, we'll be aight. And then from that point on, we used "you be aight" forever. I mean, we use it all the time. I still use it everywhere, and you'll see how the the phrase itself, I don't even, it's so hard to, you'll understand if you listen to this, you'll understand the phrase better. You have to kind of see it used, and we'll probably say it a lot, but it's "you be aight" is just an outlook to look on life, where it's a philosophy. "You be aight" is a philosophy almost on life. I feel like, Lai and I can have conversations about things that are very serious, but "you be aight" helps lighten the mood, break the tension. It helps you put things, and Lai says this a lot, in the grand scheme of life, like in the grand scheme of things, is it that serious? And you have to think of the grand scheme of life and how small and insignificant you are, and that situation might be in the grand scheme of life. And you're like, yeah, we be aight, "you be aight." So I think it's like a philosophy. It's a catchphrase. It's a way of life. It's all that stuff. So the podcast will just be us using that philosophy to discuss politics, current events, life, sports. There'll be some comedy on this. We've already laughed quite a bit, so it will just be a bunch of stuff. But it'll just be us. It'll be just two friends talking about stuff, and we think we're pretty interesting and funny or whatever. So
We'll find out.
we'll find out. It might just be us.
It might just
we
be us.
we might just be laughing at our own stuff.
I know. We're laughing at our own jokes because, yeah, we have a lot of inside jokes and whatnot, and I'm pretty sure people that are listening to it will be like, "Why the hell are these guys so hysterical? Like, what are they talking about?"
Yeah, like I don't get it.
Yeah, but if you were in that boss office that day, you will get it. But the funny thing is, I don't remember who else was there, but we just started using it, just the two of us, like it just stuck with us, and we would just use it around. And then when we use it around people, they will start saying it as well.
So many people in my life say it.
Yeah, so it became this infectious thing where, so it has become its own thing. So that is, how we come up with the name, and that's what the podcast will be about. And we will try and do this on a weekly basis. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see how long it goes for. We'll just go until we're tired and just be like, you know what? Yeah, we'll call it a day. Yeah, exactly. Maybe an hour and a half, whatever. I'm sure it's going to vacillate back and forth depending on the week. So I guess I have a question for you.
Okay.
So this past week, we did you see the debates on Tuesday, or was that Wednesday, between Kamala Harris?
The day I did. The days are bleeding together, but
yeah,
I did. I honestly cannot tell you when that was.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Sometime during the middle of the week, maybe Wednesday.
I think it was on Wednesday. Yeah, I think it was on Wednesday. Yeah. I mean, it was an interesting debate and whatnot. But my question for you is, what did you think of Mike Pence's fly?
So I actually I saw a lot of the memes about it. I missed it live. I think so I didn't see the whole debate. I think whenever I came in, or if I wasn't looking to, somehow I missed it. Maybe it was earlier in the debate, so maybe I saw like half of the debate. Actually, I saw Geneva. For those who don't know, is my wife. We were watching HBO's I May Destroy You. Have you heard of that? It's really, really good. We'll talk. We can get into that later. But anyway, we had to finish that, and so we missed part of the debates. But the fly, there was a lot of funny memes on the fly. And I thought that's crazy. I don't have hair, but I would imagine I could still feel a fly if I had hair and it was just sitting on my head for 2 minutes. I thought that was strange that he didn't just wipe it away. I don't know.
It was strange because also, he has this, would we call his hair gray?
It's more like white.
Yeah, like it's just, snow white hair, and you have this thing just perched on it. And
it kind of looked gross. Let's be honest. It looked disgusting. Every time I see that picture, I'm kind of grossed out.
Yeah. I mean, you have to wonder why, of all things, first of all, how did the fly get there? And second of all things the fly could perch on.
Right.
It perched on. Typically, let me ask you this. What typically will flies perch on? Like, what would a fly go?
Well, flies like stinky things, right? Flies like, so, flies like things that are gross, like garbage, trash, shit. So, I mean, of all the things it could have perched on, it didn't perch on Kamala's head. So
that's what I was gonna say. Like, it figured out the way to perch on the things that it perch on. So hey, it is what it is.
And stayed on there for 2 minutes. That fly is famous. That's the most famous fly in history. Like, that's kind of crazy. You think of it. There are no famous flies. And then that fly just became more famous than most people, at least for a night.
I saw this thing about how the fly started trending on Twitter, and then it got its own Twitter account. like
probably,
during the
probably has
debate.
its own Wikipedia page and everything.
During the debate, and then it has like I don't know. They said it had 20 something thousand followers just right during the debate, and Twitter shut it down. I'm like, what? Like, why the hell would Twitter do that? Like, I don't understand. Like, this is not real. I mean, do you know how many trolley type things going on Twitter? You're going to shut down Mike Pence's fly? I mean, Mike Pence's fly is realer than most things on Twitter.
Right. It's realer than the Kardashians. You know what I mean? Like it's
Oh boy.
like that's fake. But a lot of that's fake, and they have millions of followers. This fly is a real fly, not enhanced, nothing. This is just a natural fly doing his thing. He got in the spotlight, and that's how you get famous now, right? Like you can just do one thing that goes viral or gets memes, and that's how people get there. There are people who get famous like that. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
A fly. This year is insane.
It is insane, but that is the substance of the debate. But to talk about the foo stuff that happened already. I mean, so what did you think? So you didn't watch most of the debate or whatnot? I don't even know if it's worth talking about, quite frankly. Because
here's my I'll give you my conclusion. I think it's just that there were a bunch of, they asked questions, and Democrat like Kamala and Mike Pence didn't really answer the questions if they were bad questions for them, and they went on these long talking points about completely unrelated things, and they both seemed to do fine. It was very boring in comparison to the presidential
that was a
debate. That was wild. After I watched that for like 30 minutes, I was like, I'm going outside. I'm walking the dog. I can't. This is just like, it was so I see that, and that was just like crazy. And then you see the vice presidential debate is from like another world. It was so boring in comparison. It was like,
can you
I don't
imagine
know
what we've been subjected to all these years when we watch presidential debates? Like people just talking, like Obama and Romney talking about policy or just talking about stuff, and then we had that show. Woo!
that show, yeah, exactly. It's like, could you even? The funny thing is, it's like, can we even go back to normal debates now? Like, I feel like people expect to see a show now or something, or else otherwise people aren't going to watch it.
Like, I guess for me, the real question is, do we even need these debates? Like, are you learning? Like, are these debates moving the needle? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, that to me is the question. I feel like, I mean, and we're gonna, the reason why I'm pausing is I'm going back and forth as to how much politics we're gonna talk about on this show. But sure, we'll talk about politics, whatever. Like, who am I kidding? I'm a political junkie, so it'll be Aiight. So, I mean, does anyone, especially this year, does anyone really think that these debates are going to move any needle at all? You know what I mean? Like, it's everything is so baked in. If today you are still waffling about whether or not you're going to vote for Trump or Biden, I don't think there is anyone that's on the fence. I think what you're doing is, first of all, you need to get a life. So that's one. But number two, you are just looking for a reason to vote for who you want to vote for. You know what I'm saying? So in other words, that you are more likely going to vote for Trump, but you are just waiting for Biden to say something like, "Oh, I love Kamala," but like, yes, why would you love Kamala? And then for that reason, you say, so yeah, like, I don't think these debates mean anything. I don't think you're learning anything new in them. They just come there, they say whatever they got to say. I mean, I don't know what you think about it, but I don't think we should have them.
Yeah, no, I mean, who's on the fence? I think that's the question. Who
Yeah,
seriously doesn't know at this point whether you're going to vote for Trump or Biden? Like,
like Trump or Biden.
really, you're not sure? I mean, you've just been unconscious for the last 3.5 years. Like, what has been going on? Where you would be at the point where, like, I just don't know.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people. They know. I think the thing that everyone's saying is there are a lot of people who do know, but they're pretending to be undecided, but they're voting for Trump
they
or they're,
voted for Trump. I think
yeah.
whoever is on the fence now is a Trump voter.
You're a Trumper. You're just on the fence of whether or not you want to come out as a Trump supporter,
Exactly.
and you don't. So you're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, we'll see. As soon as the curtain closes, we know who you're voting for.
Exactly.
If you're on the fence, it's like who. It just you have to be a Trumper.
Yeah. One of the questions that they asked, they asked Mike Pence about Roe v. Wade, right? About
I did see that one.
About the Supreme Court nominee, Amy Coney
Barrett.
Barrett, yeah, about Roe v. Wade, and I was kind of surprised that he wasn't like, what I'm saying, like he wasn't forceful, like, yes, we want pro-life judges or we want anti-choice judges. I mean, it's not going to say anti-choice, but we want pro-life judges and all of that stuff. So that tells me that he knows that, broadly speaking, that isn't a popular thing to happen in this country.
That isn't a popular thing.
Yeah, that is not. Like, it's not a popular thing to repeal or to be against choice.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think I thought that was a good answer. I mean, I'm I don't think I'm surprising anyone. I'm not voting for Trump or Pence. But I did think that answer was I thought he came across well in that answer, in the sense that he came across as like calm, and like you said, he didn't come across as like I'm pro-life, that's it, no choice. It was just more about he kind of just it was a good. I just remember being like, oh wow, that's a good answer. Like, I don't know, the way he came across, he kind of just focused on, it's right to just have her nominated. I think he said some phrase like, no matter who's on the court, like, we should respect that, or something like that. It was like, oh, okay.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
The other question that they asked Kamala Harris, though, that I thought was interesting that she didn't answer. She did. I mean, and they asked Biden as well the question of whether they're going to pack the courts.
Yeah.
So yep. Biden didn't say anything about that. And what are your thoughts about
packing the courts? What are my thoughts about it generally? I have to look into it more. I mean, it looks like packing the courts we would be adding like 4 justices or something to the Supreme Court. Is that
4 or 2?
I don't know.
Yeah, you just add more to 9. So basically,
okay.
I mean, there is nothing that says it has to be 9.
Okay.
Like we have 9. Right. Yeah, we have 9 justices of the Supreme Court. For all intents and purposes, you could have 7, and
right.
You could have 5, and you could have 15. So
yeah, no, that's true. Justices recuse themselves all the time from cases anyway. So a lot of you'll have decisions where it's only 8 people or whatever deciding.
Exactly. I mean, even right now with Justice Ginsburg, I mean, they only have 8 justices on there. If they have to make any decisions in any cases right now, it will have to be 8 of them. So
right,
and if there is a tie, they typically it just means that the prevailing ruling is the ruling of the day. So nothing changes. So I guess do you okay? So it's one thing you say you have to look at. Do you think? So I guess maybe the other question: do you think they're going to do it?
They definitely want the option because they're not answering that question.
You think Democrats are going to do that?
I
Like,
they want. I don't know, but they want to because I feel like, and I'm fine. Look, hey, I'm fine with them doing that. All right, I don't care. I'm not running for president, and you
well,
know,
I want them to do it. Like
yeah.
I want them to do it, but I just think Democrats are cowards.
You
Like I
think they're
just
too
think,
weak?
yeah, like I just think, they are pretending that, they pretended they are the worst at exercising power. Like like the Republicans know that I mean, let me put it this way. The Republican Party, I feel like they are governing from the perspective of some knowledge that they are governing as a minority party. And
Hmm.
because of that, I mean, if you look at what Mitch McConnell had focused on, just judges. So it's almost like, okay, we know it's a matter of time before we lose the House, before we lose the Senate, before we lose the presidency. So the
Hmm.
only place that we can exercise any kind of whatever is
Hmm.
if we can get I mean, they are putting all these judges on there that are 30 something year old folks and people. I
Hmm.
mean, they are doing that for a purpose. So, like, I don't see. Let me take this. If you look at how brazen some of the decisions the Republicans have done or have made over the last couple of years, everything up to essentially, should we say, being um would we say that they're scared of Trump, or they're basically acquiescing to everything he's doing? The fact that they wouldn't say anything when he does ridiculous or crazy things. um but if you look at the way that they have sanctioned all of the craziness, because I feel like Trump wouldn't be Trump if the Republican Party, the senators,
Hmm.
the Congress folks, if they haven't sanctioned his actions and his behavior. So that raw exercise of power and the way they've been trying to suppress the vote and all of those kind of things, I don't see Democrats doing that. I just think, the system is just built in a way where, or it happens to be that, you have strong Republicans and weak Democrats.
Hmm. Yeah, it's Republicans have more to lose, and I do think they operate off of scarcity and fear because the way they have to do tactics to suppress the vote and like you said, get people on the Supreme Court, and that's someone on there for life. I mean, Amy Barrett's not 50 years old, so she'll be on there for assuming she seems healthy, another 40 years or something at least. That because in 40 years, I don't think the Republicans won't have the demographics to win anything.
No.
Like, I mean, what they're doing now is going to last that long, so they have to throw these Hail Marys. They've got to suppress the vote. They got to do all types of things to kind of counteract the way demographics are moving in this country. The country's getting like younger, it's getting browner. It's just people. The only reason they win anything is because they suppress the vote. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we recently had a governor here. I mean, I live in Texas. He basically said, okay, if you are voting absentee or whatnot, um, that each county would only have one drop-off place for your absentee ballots. So typically, people will request the absentee ballots, and I guess if you don't want to mail it in, you can go drop them off. In Harris County, which is bigger than some states
mm-hmm.
in this in this country,
Yeah.
we have one. Harris County has one drug. I mean, this
Oh
Harris
my
County has
gosh.
Houston. Houston has, I don't know, 2, 3 million people, maybe 4. Who knows? Harris County definitely has more than 3 million people. So one drop-off place. I mean,
Oh
I
my
was
god.
like, sure, they are seeing something in the numbers that is scaring the hell out of them. They're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
we need to nip this in the bud. We need to stop this. And because if you think about it, some of the moves that they are making, it's almost like they're like, what do we have to lose?
Oh yeah.
If it blows up in our face, then it blows up because we're going to lose anyway. So we might as well just be brazen about some of these things that we're doing. So, which I, which just makes me wonder, like, you have the Democrats, Joe Biden, and some of these other folks. The way they even talk about policy, man, they don't talk about it to excite anyone. I mean, are you excited about anything Joe Biden is talking about?
No, I'm not excited about anything. I
I
and
mean,
it's. I was talking to my sister last night, and I'm just like, we're just so unexcited about all of this. I'm going to do my duty and vote for Biden, but I'm just like, even if they win, I'm just like, I don't even know, man. I'm just the excitement is not as an emotion I feel anymore with politics. This is not
yeah,
2008.
yeah. I mean, so one of the things that Kamala Harris said, you know, when they were talking about, when she was trying to be more specific about some of the policies of the Biden administration if they win, and she talked about student debt, about how they have this plan to take out 10,000 to reduce people's debt. I was thinking to myself, like, really, like, these Democrats are still like walking on the edges of things, like, oh, we're gonna take out $10,000, we're not gonna give you health care, we're just gonna give you something, so you can go back. It's almost like they are so aloof and they don't understand. I don't understand what kind of universe. One, they don't understand their constituency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, in terms of what their base is. I mean, if you look at polls on just numerous issues, the party itself, the politicians, are so far removed from the Democratic base. I'm talking Democratic politicians. They're talking about something totally different from what their voters are talking about. If you look at the
Mm-hmm.
Republicans, it seems like, the not even seems like, for me, my theory of why the Republican senators and politicians are with Trump is because they see where their voters are, and they're like, you know what? Whether we like it or not, we just got to do whatever these guys want us to do. So it's whether he's crazy, whether he's ridiculous, whether he's whatever, we just have
Mm-hmm.
to do what. So the Democratic the Democratic politicians, I think they've always been. I I never could. I don't know if they've been if they've been traumatized by certain past events before, to the point where they are so afraid to talk about things that they would of what they're gonna be called. That is the
Mm-hmm.
sense that I get about how they act. But
They don't
anyway,
want to be called socialists.
yeah, I'm like, they're gonna call you socialist anyway. Like, look at Biden, like, talking about, I been a socialist, I did this, I did that. Like, you basically play into their hands. Like, just talk about what you're gonna do. Talk about what you're gonna do. You're gonna be called socialist. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't. If you're not a Republican, you're gonna be called socialist. It doesn't matter to me. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
agree. I'm gonna. I'm definitely gonna vote. But yeah, like, there isn't. It's almost like, for a lot of people, we have a lot to vote for that is just beyond whatever you're excited about, from a positive perspective, from a perspective,
Mm-hmm.
because, you know me, I'm motivated to just get Trump out of there and
Mm-hmm.
live to
Yeah.
fight another day, or like, okay, specific policy prescriptions and those kinds of things. So, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, a good segue. Maybe we should talk about COVID-19, because that has been. I mean, if we're talking about a shit show,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
has been a shit show. And
Yeah.
I saw this thing yesterday, basically a headline from the New York Times, where I basically said the White House blocked a rule, or I should say, a potential rule mandating that masks be worn in public transit. So the CDC essentially had tried to um, use um, its powers. It has certain powers that it can use to essentially say, hey, if you're going to be in public transit, you have to have a mask on.
Mm-hmm.
And and the White House was like, nope, you cannot have that. I mean, what is the rationale to not have that rule?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't taken. No, I mean, I guess I was on a plane during this whole thing, and I wore a mask. But yeah, I mean, like, you're inside with people. Like, if you're on public transit, you're basically inside with people. You're moving, but you're like inside a cramped space. Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess, their argument would be, oh, it's freedom. My freedom. I want to
Okay,
be able to
okay,
not
so
wear.
you grew up in the South. Is Virginia the South, really?
It's the South. I grew up in Richmond, so Richmond was very culturally Southern. It wasn't quite, Mississippi or Alabama, but I would say they have a very strong affinity toward the South. They're proud to be Southern in Richmond.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means. And that's, yeah.
Well, they're proud to be Southern. Yeah, sure. I'm proud to be black.
I wasn't proud to be Southern. I don't consider myself Southern, but I did live there for a long time.
I remember the first trip I took from Texas to Virginia. I did not know at the time that the Confederate flag was on the Mississippi flag. So I remember I was going to stop by, one of those travel stops, whatever. And I just saw I was like, wait, like, I was just so baffled. And luckily for me, I was like, you know what? I had just gassed up my car. I believe in Alabama, and I was about to that was when I was about to enter Mississippi, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna stop here. I'm just gonna drive through Mississippi. And since then, I think I might have stopped in Mississippi once before, and I've driven back and forth between Virginia and Texas many times. But yeah, I mean, the whole proud to be Southern thing, it's like when people say that, what are they talking about? So if you're a black man and you say, I'm proud to be Southern, what are you talking about?
Well, if you're Clarence Thomas or or what's his name, Daniel Cameron,
God.
Yeah, outside of that, you're not going to hear a lot of black people saying I'm proud to be Southern. Being Southern has, I mean, you can't deny it just has, it's related to a very racist past. I mean, there are other things about being Southern that I guess happened during, slavery and Jim Crow and all that stuff. But so, there's something about like certain foods and the way you speak. But I think it's like you can't be excited about being Southern without being excited about a lot of other things that are not good for black people necessarily. So
yeah. I mean, I suppose it will be if you just know a random person from Mississippi and you're like, I'm proud to be from the South, a black person. They may, they're more likely to be talking more specifically about certain things. You may be specifically about, say, for instance, you're from Louisiana, and Louisiana just has its own vibe and whatnot.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that's not. There are black people who are proud to be from the South.
Yeah,
but it's a different connotation. It's a different connotation. Yeah, there are definitely. Yeah, I mean that's true. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't. Yeah, I think especially like in the early 2000s, like there were a lot of like hip hop artists that were coming from the South. You had people from Atlanta. You had even
Houston.
Nelly. Yeah, Houston, St. Louis, Atlanta. I think David Banner's from like Mississippi. So you had like people who were, repping the South, and the South is Southern hip hop.
I mean, Lil Wayne is from Louisiana, right?
Yeah, Lil Wayne's from New Orleans.
That's New Louisiana. I'm like, you said no. I'm like, well, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. No, he's from the South. I was actually watching pretty interesting documentary on Master P, who's from the South.
Yeah,
and people forget, like Master P, I don't think his music is that great, but this man he's actually a very smart businessman. I was watching like the story of like him coming from like the projects in New Orleans and his kind of rise up to like becoming a multi-millionaire. Like this guy, I don't like he was really he's a smart businessman.
He is a smart businessman. And he's been successful for a long time since he was very young. Like, I mean, he's not that old, right? Like,
no, he's like maybe 45, maybe something like that.
So he's been grabbing that bag since for a long time.
Like there was one scene in this documentary, and I can't remember how much money it was, but like Mystical. You remember the artist Mystical?
Yeah. Oh my God, danger!
Yeah, shake it fast, watch yourself. But like, yeah, so so he wanted Mystical to come over to his label, and Mystical was like under some big like Universal or something. He was on another label, and Master P went. Yeah, Master P went there, and this was like maybe in the late 90s, and they were like, well, Mystical can't leave because he has a contract with us. And it was like, I don't remember the exact amount of money. Let's say it was like $500,000 or something. They're like, oh yeah, it's worth $500,000. He's in this contract. Master P was like, oh, that's it. And then he literally wrote a check right there and gave them the check and took Mystical with him and put him on his record label. And Mystical did really well right after that. He made a lot of money off of him. But he had that much money in the late 90s already. So yeah, he really was. He was a really smart businessman, or is a smart businessman.
Yeah, like I saw an interview we did with Little Romeo.
Yeah. Romeo. My first rap concert, by the way, my first concert was Lil Romeo's concert in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I don't need a girlfriend. That was his only song, and I. And to this day, that's his only song, really, other than ICDC College. It's that and
oh my God, ICDC College, man.
Yeah, so but you saw the interview.
Yeah, I saw this interview on the Breakfast Club, and we're just talking about, quite frankly, I don't remember the specific business type things that they're talking. They're just talking about different things, and I just remember thinking that, wow, that. It seemed to me that the musical thing did not work for. I mean, you wouldn't call Master P a successful rapper. He's a successful businessman. Like he's not going to be on anybody's top 100.
No, he's not a good rapper. Like he's not like, and the music wasn't good. But the thing is, he put out so much. At one point on his record label, he had like 20 albums out at like the same time from various artists, and someone had to, and they were in the top 100. Like they were doing fine, but if you have like 20 of them, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You diversify, and so it was quantity over quality, and it actually worked for him.
It worked, and but what was interesting about that interview is all this other stuff that all these other businesses that I think they had like some sort of energy drink business, and like
he's doing something else now. Like I saw something recently, actually.
Yeah, like he just has all these things that he just has this multiple streams and these multiple things that he does, and it's like it is interesting how like he's, if you were gonna talk about him, you would say the rapper Master P or whatnot. Oh, he also played basketball at some point.
He did. Yo, he has a net worth. I'm looking at it now. I'm Googling it. I wish I could share. It's $800 million.
What?
He has a net worth of, I knew it was hundreds of millions, but this is whatever I'm looking at right now. And this is from April of 2020.
Wow.
So it says he has a net worth of $800 million. And I think the last time I checked, I don't remember when it was, but it was like 300 or something. This was maybe a few years ago, but that's crazy.
That is crazy. even if he had a net worth of $100 million, that
Yeah,
was
that's
still
still insane. Yeah, I mean millions of dollars. Like, because like you said, like he's not in anyone's top 100 of like rappers,
yeah, he's
but
just a businessman. He just
that was
knows.
part of his thing to get in the door. And you know, he had a TV show on Nickelodeon. I don't know if you ever saw
Yeah.
that. What
Oh
was it
my
called? The
God.
Romeo Show. I mean,
I,
that's hey, you know, if he could do it, good for him. It's just he was but he's all over the place. I'm sure they had like I think they had a clothing line.
yeah,
I
he
don't
had a
I
clothing
you know,
line.
he's in a
No
bunch of
limit.
stuff. Yeah, No Limit. He said, you know, No Limit was a lifestyle. That blew up a little bit in the late 90s. Oh, the artwork on the albums wasn't even good. I don't know if you've ever seen like a No Limit album cover. It was quantity.
Oh,
Nah. Like that was his only song that people really, really remember. There's another song called Bout It that
oh
I
my
heard
God.
on the
Oh,
documentary, and I was like, okay, I kind of like this song. Like it's not good, but it's catchy and it's good for the gym. If you ever need to, like, it's yeah. He had a couple of songs that were decent, but for the most part, it wasn't because of his musical talent. It was just because he was a businessman.
yeah, it was a businessman. And, talking about, and how we got on this was talking about the South and whatnot. You could tell that what was around him in the South growing up in Louisiana influenced his music,
Yeah.
albeit bad music.
Right. Yeah. And there were some good people. Like I would say, like Cash Money, they had good songs. They were both from
Exactly.
New Orleans. They had good, talented. Lil Wayne
Yeah.
is he's a very talented person musically. But he's not worth $800 million. You know,
Exactly, right? Like, I mean, it's the same thing that people talk about in terms of, Jay-Z, you go back and forth as to whether or not he's the best rapper. It doesn't matter. Like I can see many people having 5 people ahead of Jay-Z, but Jay-Z is a businessman.
Yeah.
Like, nobody has the kind of, I mean, he is so smart. Not only does he make his own money, he married money. So he's like, what? If I blow all my money, I should have Beyonce's money.
Yeah.
So there is no chance he's gonna be broke ever. There is no chance. Like it's not even. So he is so smart. It is ridiculous. I mean, it's
Yeah. He's Jay-Z's smart. He's in my top 5, and he's a really good rapper. But what made him all that money is, I mean, it's yes, he's talented, but the business aspect of it, like I don't know if he would have that much money. But I will say, I always was like, oh well, Jay-Z will always have more money than Kanye because Jay-Z's a businessman. But now Kanye, he's worth $1.3 billion, and when Jay-Z's worth $1 billion. So Kanye's worth a little bit more than Jay-Z right now. That blows my mind. But at the same time, it doesn't. Kanye West, he's crazy. He says crazy, crazy things, but he's also a creative genius. Like this dude, he's otherworldly.
I hear that phrase being thrown around.
I don't throw it around lightly.
Creative genius. Like what are you talking about?
When they say that, I mean, this guy, so like, and I'm a huge fan of like Kanye's creative stuff. I'm not a fan of everything he says because, he says some interesting things, but I think, if you ever get a chance, anyone who's listening, I don't know who's listening, but if anyone ever listens, if you ever get a chance, I'm talking to you, basically. If you get a chance, there are these videos on YouTube that are like, they're basically like done by Skillshare, and this guy on Skillshare, and he'll do like 30-minute videos of each of like Kanye's albums from like 2004 to like 2016, and he'll do like 30 minutes of the making of the College Dropout or whatever, and like you hear and you listen to Kanye's story, and here's a guy who was a really successful producer who wanted to rap, and no one believed in him at all. And he just kept pushing forward. He's like, no, I have these ideas. Like he just wouldn't stop bothering people. Like Jay-Z was like, man, we just wanted some beats, to be honest. Like we didn't, he literally said that. Like I wasn't looking. And then like,
you
they,
be
you know, yeah, you be aight. And then finally, like he keeps pushing. He was rapping for years and years before this. Nobody wanted to. And then he finally was like, look, I have these visions. I have these ideas. Like he was, before he dropped his first album, he was already talking about his second album. Like he was already like, okay, I'm gonna drop the College Dropout, then I'm gonna have and then I'm gonna have this late registration album like a year later, and it's gonna do this, and he did it all. And like when I listen to his music, I'm like, he literally transformed hip hop and moved it into a completely new direction. And he's constantly like changing his sound, and he's constantly innovating. He's never going to do what you think he's going to do creatively. And sometimes it takes me, like, sometimes I'll hate an album that he'll drop. Like Yeezus, he dropped in 2013. I didn't really like it at the time, and I get it now. Like I get it. He's ahead of the curve. I'm like, oh wait, that was actually, that song was good, but it took me like 6 years later to get it. And now he's, you know, with the fashion thing, like, the fashion thing, he was like, oh, I'm going to do fashion. Like, no, you're not. Like, that's stupid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is dumb. And you hear him, he sounds crazy. But now he's worth $1.3 billion largely because of his fashion line. Like, a couple of years, like 6 years later.
Do you remember some time ago when, you know, he dropped these white T-shirts? It was like plain white T-shirts.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like there was not
like a Hanes T-shirt.
Nothing on them. And they were selling them for like, I don't know, 120. I don't even remember. And
like, yeah, 100. Yeah. Man, sold out.
Yeah, we need to be on that T-shirt business, man. Like
I don't know how he does. I don't get it. Like I'm fashion is beyond me, really. I mean, you know, I try to wear what I think is fashionable, but I mean, whatever he does, I mean, I have, you know, my neighbors, you know, like this like one of my neighbors watches, you know, you wouldn't think he would be wearing Yeezy's shoes. He's just a regular white guy, and but he knows.
White, you're racist now.
Yeah, I guess I'm racist. I guess I'm canceled. But like, it just goes to show you, like, because Kanye was saying, oh, they're gonna try to pigeonhole me as like an urban, you know, an urban fashion designer, and like only black people, you know, will wear it. And he was saying like the fashion industry is racist, and so I guess to a larger point where it's just like so many people, he's like broken barriers racially and otherwise, like in the fashion industry. And but he sounded crazy like 10 years ago when he was talking about, I'm going to be in the fashion industry. I remember me saying, no, he's insane. And then he did it.
You know, the funny thing is, you know, we're talking about Kanye, but there had been so many artists that, you know, whatever that have turned out to be more mainstream today. And when I say mainstream, I'm talking about just a broader acceptance from the general population, white people, you know, to be more specific.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you look at Dr. Dre and NWA, I mean, all of those guys, they were mainstream among among their black audience. Like, they didn't see them as crazy or whatnot. But you know, can you imagine Dr. Dre in the 90s or even Snoop in the 90s, you know, thinking about and what they are today? You know, more mainstream. They're on these shows. They, you know, Snoop is doing a show with Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. And you know, I don't think that is dissimilar to what Kanye was also going through in terms of if it's going to get pigeonholed into X, Y, or Z. I'm pretty sure. I mean, Dr. Dre, he had the Beats headphones, and he did, I think Apple acquired.
Yeah.
And he did all this other stuff. And more recently, I just kept thinking about, it's the same thing. Even if your ass is a black professional or whatnot, like, you know, it's the same thing that goes through your mind. Like, okay, you know, if people are gonna basically what people call imposter syndrome, right? I think it is essentially what it is. Like you're wondering if you're gonna be taken seriously, or if you're gonna be given your due, even though you know you can do certain things, you have certain skill sets and whatnot, and you just feel like sometimes you're just fighting and fighting for acceptance, and not just acceptance, you're just fighting for what you think you deserve, or not even, is it
Hmm.
for what you can do, or what you can deserve. But anyway,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, like it's it's been it just seems like there is that cycle. I wonder who it is today. Like, who can you think of? Can you think of anyone today that is like, okay, is getting pigeonholed, and probably 10 years, 20 years from now, would be.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's interesting to see people's careers change. I think of Lil Wayne, we were talking about,
Yeah.
and at the time when he was with Cash Money in like the early 2000s, late 90s, you would never have thought that kid would have been the biggest one by far. You know what I mean? Like he literally became like one of the biggest superstar in music and dominated music for like a decade. But you kind of, from everyone's just probably biases and all this stuff, it's just like, here's this like rapper from the South. The South had like a negative connotation kind of at the time. It was just, they weren't seen as like as good or as sophisticated of rappers as like people from New York, and they were just seen as like, you know almost ignorant. And Lil Wayne knew that, and he blew right past those like biases and all that stuff, and he became huge. He became so marketable. It was actually pretty cool to see. So it's hard to tell. You never know like where people are gonna go, but um, he
Oh
became
well.
so mainstream.
Yeah. Oh well. So,
Yeah.
did you watch the NBA Finals last night?
I saw the end of it, man. That was an amazing game. Oh my gosh, that's
You know,
exactly what network television would want from that those teams. That was like planned. That was like choreographed.
the funny thing is, I didn't see it. I only watched the last minute,
Oh,
and
that's all you needed.
yeah, I was like, I think I played this well. So I was kind of like tracking the scores, like I was like,
Yeah,
okay, you're going up and down, whatever. And then I was like, oh, they were like 47 seconds or whatever left, and then I put it on, and that was all I saw. I was like, wow,
yeah.
this is a crazy. Who do you think is gonna win?
Oh man, so I know who well, it's hard because if this was, I mean, rest in peace to Kobe. I mean, I really kind of want the Lakers to win. I've been a LeBron fan for a while. I've hated the Lakers for a long time, but so when LeBron moved to Lakers, I was kind of conflicted because it's like I hate the team, but I like him. But then when Kobe unfortunately passed away the earlier part of this year, then I became I'm supporting the Lakers. I want the organization to have that because of Kobe. But so this year I'm rooting for the Lakers, but if this was any other year, if that didn't happen, I'm so impressed by Jimmy Butler and the Heat. Like I would love to see them win. The Sixers had the Heat. I'm sorry, the Sixers had Butler, and I was like, this dude is clearly really, really good. But I felt like they were so focused on like Simmons and Embiid. I'm like, nah, like Jimmy Butler's really consistent. I was really upset when we traded him, and now I'm like, yeah, I see. It's like we should have kept this dude. We should have focused more on Jimmy Butler than others, but I don't know who's going to win. But I think the Lakers will. I think it's going to be very hard for them to come back from a 3-1, but they're putting in a fight.
Yeah, so it will mean that they will have to win 3 games in a row.
Yeah,
Right.
that's going to
I
be
mean,
hard.
that is hard, man. Because I feel like the Heat probably put a lot into that yesterday's game.
Mm-hmm.
That it's sometimes you kind of like to get that energy again. I mean, to beat
Yeah.
LeBron, because LeBron is, I it can happen because we're talking about you just have two games. People talk about you take it one game at a time. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just say that, like, but
Right.
really,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're a human being. It's
Yeah.
hard. You put in that
Yeah.
much effort to win yesterday because your back was on the wall yesterday.
Yeah.
You did and you barely won,
Yeah.
and then you got to
Yeah.
do that again. I mean, we're
And
not
then
talking
again.
about and then again. So I don't, maybe they can do it. I mean, sometimes the 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 story, the Lakers story, after what happened to Kobe, which was tragic, by the way, man, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful.
But that would be a very good storyline. But also for the Heat, can you imagine, like, you have this spoiler. They were gonna have this. The Lakers were gonna have this. Doesn't that happen all the time? They're gonna have this
Yeah.
perfect thing where they won, and they're gonna have this tribute to Kobe and all
Yeah.
of that
Right.
stuff. And then if the Heat win, I feel like those players they're gonna probably. I mean, they're gonna be so happy to win. But they all know that the Lakers are trying. They are doing this for Kobe as well, right? You know
Right.
what
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wonder what part of that plays into your psyche.
Yeah. I
They
know.
they want to win, but if the next game they are down 7 with 3 minutes to go,
Mm-hmm.
does that kind of like, what? Let's do this for I mean, you know what?
yeah, yeah. Let's just lose for Kobe. No, but I know what you mean. It's like, do we really want to let down the entire world?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like the whole world is rooting for the Lakers, and because of Kobe, otherwise it would be only the Lakers would be rooting for. The Lakers. Lakers fans would be rooting for the Lakers if it weren't for Kobe. Because I was never a Lakers fan. But with the whole story and it would be doing it for Kobe, and it's hard. And like, even Miami Heat players, they're people just like we are, so it's got to be a little conflicting. It's like, I really want to win a championship, but I'm also a person. I'm someone, and I'm sure were inspired by Kobe. I mean, you could not be inspired. You can't play basketball and say you weren't inspired by Kobe Bryant.
Exactly. Even if you hated him,
right?
When he played, I was a big Kobe fan, Kobe fan. So I mean, I remember where I was when I found out that he passed away. Like, I was driving to a friend's house, and it was on a Sunday. So it was just so it just felt like someone I knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I kept thinking to myself, if we went to the same high school, we'd just be a couple of years ahead of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, he, I might have walked by him in the hallways or whatnot, and it just felt like someone I knew, like, someone I just watched like for years or even more than a decade. He played
more than a decade.
I would say decades. He played for close to 20 years.
Yeah.
So such a tragic story. It's So, but yeah, it makes for a good game, a good story, and we will see how that goes. One thing that I've been doing, that I really picked, and I've been watching. Have you been watching mixed martial arts at all?
No, I actually haven't watched that at all. Like, you what is that? The that's
MMA,
that's MMA. Yeah. No.
So I mean, I kind of like watch it in and out. Like, I go back and forth, whatnot, over the years. Like, and now that, of course, you have a bunch of Nigerians, a bunch of Africans that are champions.
Okay.
I don't know if that was why I got back into it. I don't think so. But since the quarantine began, and really UFC was the first sport that came back.
Yeah.
Man, those fights have been crazy, man.
I'm so ignorant about that stuff. I don't really watch it. But I did hear they were the first people to go back. So without any fans, I guess. I don't know if they have fans.
No, they don't have fans. I mean, it must be interesting if you're a business. I mean, for them, I actually think they had no choice. uh, with the way they made money and whatnot, they just had to go back. It it's not like a franchise the way you have NFL or NBA franchises where who knows? I mean, maybe you have there are other ways you would or you could make money. With UFC, you have to put on a fight. Like it's not it's not
Mhm.
an evil but like yes, you
Yeah,
want
you
people
know,
in you want people in there so that you can get you can make money from the gate from the tickets
right?
themselves.
Yeah.
But you also make money on TV. So you're like, okay, people are not going to come back for a long time, even if that's not a thing. So I mean, the only thing they really have is to just go on TV. So I mean,
Hmm.
it's I felt like it was a no brainer for them. One and two, I guess it's also not too difficult when you look at two people fighting and they're
Hmm.
gonna have their own entourage. It's easy to have a limited number of people in there to do
Hmm.
the broadcast, and then they have the folks that are fighting. You have their teams, and you have a limited number of folks that you're gonna test.
Okay.
But anyway, that had been my vice during this pandemic, and
Yeah. Was UFC? Do you
yeah,
like fighting generally? Are you like a boxing fan too?
some fights like I wouldn't watch. There are some fighters that I mean, no fighter. There are some boxing fans that are true boxing fans who
Hmm.
know the up and coming folks and whatnot. For me, I watch the big fights.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Mayweather fight,
Right.
um, and all of that stuff. There was this thing recently about Mike Tyson coming back. Did you see that?
Yeah, yeah. That's the closest I am to fighting is just paying attention to Mike Tyson. And I'm sure you've seen these videos of him.
Oh, he
It's
looked
like
good.
you couldn't pay me enough to
Just stand in front of that. You can imagine that, like you can manage.
no, I'm good.
You know what? We're gonna give you. How much would they pay you to stay in there for 3 minutes?
I mean, if
You
I
know,
can honestly, so people I do these like how much would you pay me things, and I would my answer is usually if it's something I don't want to do, like you can't pay me enough. Like I
really?
won't. Yeah, I'm
Like
good.
if you think of it, like okay, look, man.
Okay, so you give me $100 million, but I have to eat soup for the rest of my life or whatever. Like I'm good. Like
I mean, you're gonna train, so it's not like they're just picking you up right now.
me training is hilarious. Like just imagine what that would even. I'd be, like Mike Tyson. I think he was the one that said everybody has a plan until you get hit.
I just seen some of his knockouts.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they're crazy. You could how much would you how much well, I guess we have to figure out what are the parameters. Like if you're in the boxing ring, do you have to like square up with him? Can you run around for 3 minutes? Like, like, can you just run away from him? Like if I can do that, maybe. You know what I mean? But I don't know how fast he is.
I will go in there with him
You'll
because
go in there.
you if you get knocked out, like think about it. What are the odds? Like you get because if you get knocked out, the fight is over, right? So okay, I still go home with like 4 million. I wake up the next day, I have a headache. Maybe I have migraines for a couple of months. I have a broken jaw.
That
Um,
sounds.
I mean, but I got $5 million sitting in my account.
So you do it for 5 million. I need more than that. I need to make because you could lose you could spend $5 million in some not that long if you
Nah,
wanted to. If you
I'm not
were
gonna blow $5 million. I'm
I
not.
could blow it if someone gave me the opportunity. I
Like
could definitely blow five
if I
million
had
dollars.
$5 million, like if I had like $5 million, I'm not gonna blow. Like I'm not gonna blow $5 million.
I
But boy,
think that's I think if I could run around, and or if I can just go on the ground immediately, I'm knocked out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and just stay there for 10
you gotta
seconds.
you
You
gotta
gotta
like
actually try.
you gotta
Nah,
try. You gotta shimmy. Like for
that
me, because
nah.
this is what I think, right? if they give you 6 months, just it means you're gonna go into camp. You're gonna try and give it a good shot. Like you're gonna lose. Like
you're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
You just don't want to die. That's all.
So your strategy is gonna be different from the because for me, I feel like if I were preparing for that fight, I'm not going in there to win. I mean, come on, are you kidding me? No. So a bulk of my training camp will be dedicated towards defensive strategies. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, how do you protect yourself? When do you go down? Even when you know you're not really hurt. You know what?
So you just want to make it look more realistic than what I actually just want to do, which is just get on the ground as soon as possible.
No, make it more realistic. People say, well, you know what? You give it a shot. Like, I mean, if you get knocked out by Mike Tyson, like that's not a shame. Like,
I'm not ashamed of it. It's more of just like feeling physically. I don't like the idea of getting hit in the face. I'm a lover, not a fighter, I think. And
for me, I'm gonna spend those 6 months. I'm gonna get Evander Holyfield in there and Lennox Lewis.
He can't beat Mike either right now. That's the funny thing.
I know. What I'm saying is basically asking him like, okay, I want to last 2.5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? That's my target. So when you figure out, like, the filling out and the moving back and all of that stuff, you already got 5-10 seconds. You hit it out, hit you here, hit you there.
Man.
Like, what can I do to last 2.5 minutes? That is my strategy. Now, that being said, Mike Tyson have knocked people out in the past in less than 2.5 minutes. So,
yeah, I mean, like professional fighters, people who dedicated their life to training have been knocked out by Mike Tyson. I work out and I lift weights and stuff,
That's not a thing.
But not that matters. Only reason I do that is so that people don't mess with me. I hope people think I can fight because I can't, and I don't want anyone to mess with me. That's all it is. It's just a way to hopefully detract people from trying to fight me. But yeah, I have no interest in fighting. I actually have a boxing a punching bag. We have a home gym here. I have a punching bag, and it's really fun when you're punching an inanimate object, right? Like, I mean, you're a tough guy then when it's just a piece of plastic and some cotton underneath it or whatever it is. And that's fine. Like that's fun, but man, I have no interest.
It's interesting how, when you said you lift weights and, so people can think you can fight, people can be intimidated, all of that stuff. So there was this fight that happened a couple of weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago now, maybe 3 weeks, it was an MMA fight, middleweight, between this guy, Israel Adesanya, and Paulo Acosta. So Israel is a Nigerian, but he grew up in New Zealand. So he's fighting out of New Zealand, really. And Paulo Acosta is Brazilian. If you Google these guys, Israel is this skinny guy. And skinny guy just like me, like, he's fit.
Right. But he's not.
It's not Acosta, man. That dude looked like an animal. Like, big dude. Muscles, everything. And I was watching all of the analysts before the fight, and to be fair, a bunch of folks picked Israel to win, and the reason was look, this guy is so technical. He's had close to 100, maybe 80 something kickboxing fights. He's only 30 or 31 or something like that.
Yeah.
But this Acosta guy, I mean, he has basically knocked out almost everyone that he fought. But when this fight happened, Israel knocked him out in about 2.5 minutes. Like the skinny guy knocked out
the
big guy. So
yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, like you can fight and be. I'm not saying I just want people to not know. You know what I mean? Like you got to be like, maybe he can fight. But yeah, certainly I'm not saying if you aren't jacked, you can't fight. But
yeah, when push comes to shove, that's where you get found out. They're like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I just want people to think twice. You know what I mean? That's all. And I'm not jacked by any means. I just, I look, like I lift weights occasionally, but I'm not jacked. But if I saw me, I don't think I would be like, let me just try to fight that guy right now. You don't know. I could know stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's funny. Well, have you been watching the NFL as well?
I have not. I actually stopped watching the NFL after the Kaepernick thing, and so I didn't watch it for like 3 years. And then the first time I watched a game since like 2017, I watched the Super Bowl in 2020, and I don't even remember who was in that. That seems so long ago. The 2020 Super Bowl. I don't even know. I don't know who was even in that or who won. Who was in that? Oh my gosh, I don't even remember. I never remember who's in the Super Bowl. I don't know why. It's information I can't, other than when the Eagles won and I was in Philly, obviously, like, I'll remember that. The Kansas City Chiefs, that's right. Against the 49ers? I don't do you remember them being in what? When were the 49ers in the Super Bowl? That's hilarious. I don't remember them at all.
I did not even watch the Super Bowl. I don't think I've seen a game since the Kaepernick thing happened.
Yeah.
I mean, every now and then, not only haven't I seen a game, I used to play fantasy football as well, and I just got disinterested in that as well. Like, I'm like, and I never really, I mean, when I played fantasy football, like I was never one of those folks that would say, hey, I gotta watch this game. So no, like I'm like, this is stats. You just got to look at the stats. I don't care. And,
right. Yeah.
But even after that, I kind of like then I became disinterested in that. I joined a fantasy team last year, and I never, even participated or did anything. I was that guy that was unresponsive and all that stuff. But yeah, but I hadn't seen football since Kaepernick. Since the whole Kaepernick saga. At this point, do you think he's gonna come back to the league?
Nah, I think his last shot was a year ago. Remember when they had him try out, and it was all weird, and like they had him try out at like a high school football field, and they were like, nah, come to this one, and so he had to drive like an hour to go to another one. It was the weirdest spectacle, and I don't know what that was about, but I was like, I feel like that's the last shot he gets, and it's fine because I don't think Kaepernick wants to play by the NFL's rules, and they want him to kind of just shut up, and he's too much of a wild card for them. It's unfortunate. It's ridiculous. I think there should be a way where he could play and kind of be able to still, be an activist. But it just doesn't seem like it's going to work between the two of them.
But don't you see how crazy that was after the George Floyd murder?
Yeah.
And the NFL came out and they were like, basically,
we were wrong. Kaepernick was right. It's like, all right, well then give him a job.
Like, so what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, like I mean, actions speak louder than words. Are you gonna give him a job? I mean, like you literally blackballed him from the NFL. And I guess they've settled out of court, right? Settled out of court, yeah. So,
but that doesn't mean he can still play. Like,
no, I know, but they just see him as done. It's so. But yeah, that thing really pissed me off. Like I was like, I stopped watching football, and then I realized I didn't miss it that much.
No,
like it just wasn't that hard. Because at first I thought it was going to be kind of hard, and it was a little bit because it's kind of like. It's a nice thing to have on like on Sundays, I find it relaxing. Yeah, I think football's like I don't know. I grew up in a house where like my, football sports was on a lot. Like my mom watched a lot of sports, and football, it's definitely something that would have just been on Sundays. And I was never like a crazy like football geek or nerd or like into like all these different like I didn't know every single player and all the stats, but I understood the game and I liked watching it. And but when the Kaepernick thing happened and I stopped watching it, I was like, oh, after a couple weeks, I was like, I don't really miss this thing that much.
I think for me, I didn't miss it because I watch soccer, the real football.
Yeah, you do have soccer.
So and the seasons are basically at the same time. They kind of like start from around August, September-ish, and then go. And soccer even goes longer. It goes until like April, May, with the Champions League and all that. So for me, all day, I mean, I'm watching the Premier League, the English Premier League. I'm watching La Liga. I'm watching the French League. I mean, I'm like,
I wish I liked soccer. I wish I was because you guys. There's so many leagues. There's so many games. Like I feel like you can just watch because the world plays soccer. It's just us who plays American football, and nobody else gives a damn about that sport. It's just us, really. And so, and it's only on from like August to the Super Bowl in February. But a lot of the games aren't played by that point because people aren't in the playoffs. So yeah, soccer, y'all, you got you got a lot to watch. So I can understand how you'd be like American football be aight.
Yeah, but anyway, what I thought has been interesting though, going back to Kaepernick, has been how Nike had embraced him, right? And they had these Kaepernick themed things that they released. I think there was a time Snickers, and then
sneakers, yeah,
sold out.
Yeah, I actually wanted those. I couldn't get them. You try to get them 3 minutes after they were released, and you're out of luck.
And for a lot of companies, the reason why this whole issue of Black people getting killed or getting treated differently by law enforcement is not new. And the reason why, I mean, I'm super skeptical that corporate America is going to do anything. A bunch of folks came out with statements saying, oh, now we have an epiphany. Oh my God, I didn't know you're like, really? You didn't know all this while people have been talking about it? Like, what do you think they just make it? I mean, I guess they thought people were lying. If it wasn't happened to them, it wasn't happening at all. The funny thing is, I kept saying that, if George Floyd hadn't died, maybe he came to a couple of seconds and that guy took his knee off his neck, took him to the hospital and he got better, he'll probably be sitting in jail right now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, he'll be sitting in jail for doing nothing wrong. And those guys wouldn't have been, they wouldn't have been held accountable for that. But anyway, getting sidetracked a little bit. But with Kaepernick, like, it is interesting how Nike had embraced him. And, I saw some analysis recently about how, not even analysis, the first time when Nike kind of like had some campaign, the first time they had a campaign with Kaepernick, we had a bunch of conservatives, that's who they are, that went on and they were burning their Nike. I'm like, in my head, I was thinking to myself, like, really? You're burning your own, you paid money for this shit.
Right. Yeah, Nike's already got your money, dude.
I know, Nike already got your money, and I don't think there's enough of you out there for this to make a material difference. That's true.
Yeah, you're not their target audience. When you saw like a 6-year-old white guy with like the dorkiest Nikes, like you're not really the target audience. So you can burn those 20-year-old Nikes if you want. We're fine.
I'm like, the fact that you're burning this, you know what is this doing to their market cap? I mean, Nike's worth shot like billions of dollars, or was it by
something like that? Yeah, I don't even. Their market cap was huge after that because no press is bad press. Really, I mean, some press I guess can be bad, but it's we're a weird society. Like if you're just talking about somebody, people like this kind of reminds me of like. We're not shit as a society, but when the R. Kelly documentary came out, this man got more streams when that documentary came out.
He
Like
got
we're
more
just
streams. Oh my
right,
god!
like
You know,
literally
the same line as R. Kelly.
right. I mean,
He got more streams. My
he
god.
got more streams. That's the worst press you can probably get was that documentary, and he ended up getting more streams. So, but like the thing with Nike burning or people burning the shoes. Yeah, it's just you're just going to see more of Nike in the headlines, and you're like, oh, I need to get running shoes, or I should get workout clothes or whatever basketball shoes from Nike.
I think it's the same. It's the same. Yeah, I think you're right. It's the same thing that gave us Trump, right? Because Trump was a reality guy. He was just famous for being famous.
Right. Oh, have you read his book? His aunt's not his aunt, his niece's book about Trump?
No, I've seen a bunch of interviews, and she wasn't saying anything. I mean, it's funny how I saw this interview she did with Rachel Maddow, and Rachel Maddow asked her, like, something to the effect of, "Has Trump ever used the N-word?"
Oh yeah,
like, yeah. And there was this pause and like this. I'm like, really?
Oh,
like you're
really surprised that he's used the N-word? I actually saw that clip. I
was like,
it's like
really?
this isn't breaking news.
I'm like, if we saw a tape today, if Trump came out today and used the N-word on TV, on live TV, nothing will happen. The Republicans will still back him. They're not going to denounce him.
Yep.
Nobody, none of his. They're gonna explain it. What he meant was, when he told the white supremacists to stand. Well, what happened was, there were people on their side as well. Yeah, please give me So anything that has to do with Trump,
it's not surprising.
It's not surprising, and I've just decided, like,
it's not worth it. I read the book, and I was like, this isn't that illuminating. It's not that juicy.
Is it interesting?
I mean, slightly in the sense that, like, just I like reading biographies of people generally, so kind of just like seeing where he came from and like his parents came from. It's a little interesting, but the conclusion that he's a narcissist and all this other stuff, he hasn't really done much work he hasn't done any work really to get where he is, and he's a terrible businessman, and it's really just all about he had a bunch of privilege and his dad had a bunch of money and kind of prop Trump up as this like business guy, but it was really like based off of like the money his dad had, and it's just it's a huge display of just like so much privilege. And him being famous, and then he became famous, and he kind of was just famous for being famous, and so little of it was deserved. And now here he is, and who's president of the United States. Yeah, but none of it's surprising. I mean, it's like
this is a good segue to my last question before we wrap this up.
Sure.
So, which is for you?
Mm-hmm.
If Trump was a black man, go.
If Trump was a black man, oh my gosh. Well, that actually,
I go.
That so
your father gave you $400 million.
Oh my gosh! Like you think of people like Master P, right? Who grew up in just abject poverty in the Callio projects in New Orleans. Like I Googled it, like when I was watching the show, and I was like, gosh, it's just the way he described it. It's literally probably the poorest place you can grow up in America, like at that time, and it's just nonstop violence and drugs and all this stuff. And then now he's worth $800 million, which isn't that much less than whatever Trump's worth. I mean, Trump's worth maybe.
I think he's worth more than Trump. I don't think Trump is worth more than $100 million. I mean, that's still a lot of money, but
well, they say he's worth 2.5 billion.
I don't believe it.
Even if he was, I'm not impressed.
Yeah,
I'm way more. I mean, think of how much more impressed you are by. Let's call Master P's $1 billion, right? So what Master P went through, and I think Master P, I think he might be 50 now. I think I saw 53. Okay, so he's 53, and Trump is like 74 or 5 or something like that. Yeah. So by the time he was 53, Master P created $1 billion already. Like, and that's really earned. Trump's 70 something.
Zero.
Yeah, exactly.
Master P's dad. I don't even think I've ever heard him talk about his dad, but Master P's dad did not give him
Did not give
$400.
him for. Actually, you know what happened with Master P? It was his grandmother was sick or something, and like the hospital, there was some like malpractice thing, and she ended up dying. So they were able to like sue the hospital, and I think they got like, I think because of that, Master P ended up getting 10 grand. Which, like, to us, it's like, okay, that's not that much money, but like to him, he ended. That's how he used that money to start his business. So look at what Master P did with $10,000, and Donald Trump had millions and millions of dollars. But I mean, like, I can't imagine if Master P got like $10 million. You know what I mean? Like
God,
he did all that with like that 10. That helped him. He was like, "Oh shit! I finally have something. Let me make more money with this." So, but yeah, if Trump was a black man, like, well, it's interesting because there's this actually. I don't know if you watch Bill Burr, the stand-up comedian. Do you know who I'm talking about?
yeah,
Yeah, the guy who's like he yells a lot.
yeah,
Um,
I've seen his stuff a few times. He's not my type of comedian, but he's popular and he's good.
yeah. So he's popular. He's actually one of my favorites. But he had this joke where he was saying, "Thank God Kanye West is a black man," because usually, like 99% of the time, racism is terrible, but 1% of the time it works. Because if Kanye West was a white man and had that big of an ego, we'd allow him to be like president, right? Like you think of like Hitler. If Hitler was a black man, he wouldn't have gotten any farther than just like yelling things on the street, right? Like nobody would have taken him seriously because he would be black. And so he's like, that's the one time racism actually works, is when you can like stop egomaniacs from because white people,
Who is the biggest narcissist, Kanye or Trump?
I mean, they're running a race. The only thing I like about, at least with Kanye though,
He has a real talent.
he's actually talented. He's actually good at something. He's actually created something. So I
And
can't.
he's also self-made, right? Like
Yeah, he's pretty self-made. I mean, it's his mom was a professor, but it's not
Yeah.
like she wasn't giving him millions of dollars. He was very middle class, in Chicago, in the like Chicago area. So he was not rich by any stretch of the imagination. So I would consider him self-made. But yeah, like, so yeah, that's the thing. Like Kanye is a narcissist, but he's also really good at what he does. Like, he also creates things. Like Trump, I haven't seen him. He doesn't create anything. What has he created? What has he done? So
as you were answering this question, if Trump was a black man, I kept thinking. I mean, he's president now, right? And it's funny that you can kind of like easily compare him to the last president, and who obviously was black or is black, and it's just interesting how when you place both of them side by side, at least from my perspective, there isn't a comparison between Obama and Trump. And Trump, the funny thing is, Trump knows it. That's why he's been obsessed with Obama since he got in. There is no time that he doesn't talk about him in some disparaging way. Like, I think somebody posted on Twitter that Obama lives rent free in Trump's head, and that is true, because he knows he's not as smart as Obama, and Trump has massive insecurities. So he knows he's not as smart as him. He knows he's not as successful as him. He knows he's not as liked as him. He knows he's not as popular as him, and so he has made himself into this thing that he feels like he has to tear other people down to build himself back up. So, but anyway, I can't imagine Trump being black. But folks, we have come to the end of the show. Do you have any last words for you?
Nah, just that was fun, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Whoever you are, whoever these people are. I guess they can watch it later on. Obviously, we'll be uploading it at least and as a podcast, eventually we're working on our podcast artwork. But we'll be uploading it so you can listen to it, wherever. And then, we'll be uploading the video, I guess, too, at some point. But yeah, that was fun. That was good.
Absolutely. Well, folks, we have come to the end of the show. Thanks very much for listening. And until next time, hasta luego. See you
Yep.
later,
And
Manu.
take care. See ya.
All right.